The mop moved slowly across the floor. Back and forth. Back and forth. The old man pushed it with tired arms. His gray jumpsuit was faded and worn. His shoes were old but clean. He did not look up as the students walked past him. Kang Do-yeon was 63 years old. He had worked as a janitor at the Galactic Academy of Military Sciences for 11 years. Every day was the same. He woke up early. He cleaned the floors. He emptied the trash. He fixed broken things. Then he went home to his small room and slept. The academy was on Station Viridian 7. It was the most famous military school in the galaxy. Young officers from 100 different planets came here to learn. They studied war. They studied strategy. They studied the great battles of history. One day, they would lead armies and fleets. Do-hyun was not a student. He was not a teacher. He was just the man with the mop. The Grand Hall was the biggest room in the academy. It had high ceilings and walls made of polished metal. Holographic screens floated in the air. Rows of seats faced a large platform where instructors gave their lessons. This was where the best of the best came to learn. Today, the hall was full. Almost 200 cadets sat in their seats. They came from many species. Some had blue skin. Some had 4 arms. Some had scales. Some had fur. A few were human, like Do-yeon. But they were young, strong, full of hope and pride. Do-hyun pushed his mop near the back wall. He stayed quiet. He stayed invisible. That was how he liked it. The instructor today was a Valorian named Commander Torvax. Valorians were tall and thin. They had gray skin and large black eyes. They believed they were smarter than everyone else. Many of them were. Today, Torvax said, his voice filling the hall, we study primitive siege warfare. A holographic image appeared above the platform. It showed a planet. Brown and rocky, ugly. Siege warfare, Torvax continued, is what happens when a stronger force surrounds a weaker force. The weaker force cannot escape. They cannot win. They can only wait to die. Some students laughed softly. This was common among lesser species, Torvax said. Species that did not have advanced technology. Species that fought with desperation instead of intelligence. The image changed. Now it showed a small building. A mining outpost. It looked old and broken. This is Outpost 17, Torvax said. 40 years ago, a human garrison was stationed here. 47 soldiers. They were attacked by enemy forces. 3,000 enemy soldiers surrounded them. The students leaned forward. This was interesting. The humans should have surrendered, Torvax said. Any logical species would have. But humans are not always logical. They chose to fight. Don's hands tightened on his mob. Just a little. No one noticed. The siege lasted 847 days, Torvax said. More than 2 years. The humans had little food, little water, little ammunition. They lived in tunnels underground. They ate recycled protein. They drank filtered wastewater. A student raised his hand. He was a young Valorian. Commander, why did they not simply surrender? It seems wasteful. Torvax nodded. An excellent question. The human mind is strange. They have a concept called honor. They would rather die than give up. It is inefficient. But it is who they are. More laughter. In the back of the hall, a young human woman sat very still. Her name was Yoon Hana. She was 24 years old. She was one of the best cadets in her class. She had worked hard to be here. She had fought to prove that humans deserved respect. Now she felt her face grow hot. She felt shamed. She looked at the old janitor near the wall. He was still mopping, slow and steady. He did not seem to hear the lesson. He did not seem to care. Hana felt a flash of anger. Not at Torvax. At the old man. Why did he have to be here? Why did he have to be human? This shuffling, quiet, invisible old man. He was everything the other species thought humans were. Weak, small, unimportant. She turned away from him. In the end, Torvax said, the siege was broken. A rescue fleet arrived. But of the 47 humans, only 3 survived. 3 out of 47. They won nothing. They gained nothing. They simply refused to lose. The image faded. This is what we call desperation tactics, Torvax said. It is important to study, not because it is effective, but because you may one day face an enemy who uses it. You must understand their psychology. You must understand why they fight when fighting is pointless. The lesson continued. Torvax talked about fortifications, about supply lines, about the mathematics of siege warfare. Doyun kept mopping. His bucket was full of dirty water now. He picked it up and carried it toward the door. His steps were slow. His back was bent. He looked like what he was, an old man doing a simple job. But as he walked, his eyes moved to the holographic image that still floated above the platform. The image of Outpost 17. For just a moment, something changed in his face. Something dark. Something old. Something that had nothing to do with mops and buckets and clean floors. Then it was gone. He pushed through the door and disappeared into the hallway. No one saw him go. No one cared. He was just a janitor. 3 days later, Commander Torvax made an announcement. The Academy would do something special. They would create a full holographic recreation of the siege of Outpost 17. Every cadet would participate. They would study the battle from every angle. They would learn what the humans did right. They would learn what they did wrong. This will be the most complete analysis ever done, Torvax said proudly. We will understand this battle better than the people who fought it. The cadets were excited. This was the kind of training they loved. Real battle analysis. Real strategy discussion. A chance to show how smart they were. Yunhana was not excited. She felt sick. For 3 days, she had tried to forget that lesson. The laughter. The words, lesser species. The way Torvax talked about her people, like they were animals in a cage. Interesting to study. Nothing more. Now they would spend weeks on this. Weeks of picking apart a human defeat. Weeks of explaining why humans were primitive and foolish. She wanted to scream, but she did not scream. She sat in her seat and kept her face calm. She was a good soldier. She would not show weakness. The holographic recreation was amazing. The Academy had spent a lot of money on it. The images were so real that you could almost smell the dust, almost feel the heat. Outpost 17 appeared in the center of the Grand Hall. It was larger than life. The cadets could walk through it. They could touch the walls. They could see every room, every tunnel, every defensive position. The outpost was built for mining, Torvax explained. It was never meant to be a fortress. The humans had to change it. They had to make it strong enough to survive. He pointed to the walls. They used mining equipment to dig trenches. They used scrap metal to build barriers. They melted down their own vehicles to make weapons. A Tellurian cadet laughed. Tellurians were large and covered in thick fur. They were known for their strength. Melted their vehicles? The cadet said, "How primitive. Why not just use proper weapons?" They had proper weapons, Torvax said. At first. But ammunition runs out. Equipment breaks. When you are surrounded for 2 years, you must adapt or die. The tour continued. The cadets walked through the recreation. They saw the command center, a small room with broken screens and old computers. They saw the medical bay, rows of beds with dark stains on them. They saw the tunnels, long and dark and narrow. Hannah walked with them. She tried to imagine what it was like. Living here, fighting here, dying here. She could not imagine it. It was too horrible. The enemy attacked every day, Torvak said. Sometimes twice a day. The humans learned to sleep in shifts. 2 hours here, 2 hours there. They were always tired, always hungry, always afraid. He stopped in front of a tunnel entrance. "This is the Eastern Tunnel," he said. It was the weakest point in the defense. The enemy tried to break through here many times. One soldier held this tunnel alone for 19 days. A Valorian cadet raised his hand. One soldier? Against how many? The records say hundreds attacked during those 19 days, Torvak said. The tunnel was narrow. Only a few could come at once. But still, 19 days. No sleep, no relief. Just one human and his weapon. What happened to him? Another cadet asked. Unknown, Torvak said. The records from that period are incomplete. Many files were lost. Many soldiers were never properly identified. The tour moved on. But Hannah stayed for a moment. She looked at the tunnel. Dark and cold and empty. 19 days. Alone. Fighting. Killing. Waiting to die. What kind of person could do that? In the back of the group, she noticed the old janitor again. Do-hyun. He was cleaning one of the holographic projectors. His mop was nowhere to be seen. He had a small tool in his hand. He worked slowly and carefully, but he was not looking at the projector. He was looking at the tunnel. His face was strange, blank, like a man looking at a ghost. Hannah felt something cold run down her spine. She did not know why. The lesson continued for 2 more hours. Torvak explained everything. The water filtration system the humans built when their supply was poisoned. The communication network they created from broken parts. The traps they set in the tunnels. All very clever, Torvak admitted. For a primitive species. At the end, he asked the cadets to share their thoughts. The Tellurians spoke first. They were brave. But bravery is not enough. They should have found a way to escape. A 4-armed Crixian nodded. The defensive positions were poorly designed. I could see at least 12 ways to improve them. The young Valorian from before smiled. They were emotional. They let their feelings control them. A logical species would have surrendered and saved their lives. Everyone agreed. Hannah said nothing. She wanted to argue. She wanted to defend her people. But what could she say? She had not been there. She did not know what it was really like. She looked again for the old janitor. But he was gone. That night, she could not sleep. She lay in her small room and stared at the ceiling. She thought about the tunnel. She thought about the bloodstains on the beds. She thought about 47 people who chose to die rather than give up. Why? She did not understand. But she wanted to. She needed to. Something about this story was important. She could feel it in her bones. She just did not know what it was yet. Park Ji-soo was not like the other cadets. She was quiet. She liked books more than battles. She liked secrets more than glory. That was why she was studying to be an intelligence officer. When Torvak announced the Outpost 17 project, most cadets wanted to study the fighting. Jisoo wanted to study the people. Who were they? Where did they come from? What happened to them after? She went to the academy library. It was a huge room filled with data screens, all books from 100 worlds. She found a corner and started searching. The official records were easy to find. Names, ranks, basic information. But Jisoo wanted more. She searched deeper. Older files. Classified documents. Medical reports. Things that had been hidden for 40 years. It took her 3 days. But she found what she was looking for. The survivor testimonies. Only 3 people lived through the siege. 2 of them died within 10 years. The war had broken something inside them. They could not recover, but the third survivor was different. He lived. He received the Terran Cross. That was the highest honor a human soldier could get. Very few people ever received it. Then he disappeared. Jisoo found his file. Most of it was blacked out, classified. But she found a name? Kang Do-yoon. She stared at the screen. The name was familiar. She had seen it somewhere. Then she remembered. The janitor. The old man with the mop. The one who cleaned the floors of the Grand Hall. The one nobody ever looked at. His name was Kang Do-hyun. Jisoo's hands began to shake. She searched more. She found old photographs. Young soldiers standing together, smiling. They did not know what was coming. One face stood out. A young man, maybe 22 or 23. Strong jaw, sharp eyes. A small scar on his chin. She knew that scar. She had seen it yesterday, on the old janitor's face. No, she whispered. It cannot be. But it was. She read more. The young Do-hyun was a combat engineer. He was good with machines, good with building things. When the siege began, he was put in charge of keeping the outpost running. The report said he rebuilt the water system 3 times. Each time the enemy destroyed it, he built it again. He slept 2 hours a night, sometimes less. He carried wounded soldiers through collapsed tunnels. He fixed weapons that should have been thrown away. He kept people alive when everything said they should die. And then there was the Eastern Tunnel. Day 612 of the siege. The enemy launched their biggest attack. They sent hundreds of soldiers through the Eastern Tunnel. The defenders there were overwhelmed. One by one, they fell, except Do-hyun. For 19 days, he held that tunnel alone. He built traps. He used the bodies of dead enemies as shields. He slept standing up, his weapon in his hands. When his ammunition ran out, he used a blade. When his blade broke, he used his hands. On day 631, reinforcements finally came. They found him still standing, covered in blood. Most of it not his own. He had killed 147 enemies. By himself, Jisoo felt tears in her eyes. She did not know why. She had read about battles before. But this was different. This was real. This man was real. And he was mopping floors 10 meters away from her every day. She had to tell someone. She found Hana in the training room. The older cadet was practicing combat moves. Her face was angry. She had been angry for days. I need to talk to you, Jisoo said. Not now. It is about the janitor. Hana stopped. What about him? His name is Kang Do-hyun. I know. Do you know who he is? Hana looked at her. He is a janitor. No, Jisoo said. He is not. She showed Hana everything. The files. The photographs. The testimonies. The medal. Hana's face went pale. Then red. Then pale again. This is impossible, she said. It is true. Why is he here? Why is he cleaning floors? I do not know. They went to find him. It took an hour. He was in a supply closet on the 3rd level. He was fixing a broken cleaning machine. His hands moved slowly but surely. He did not look up when they entered. Mr. Kang, Hana said. Her voice was shaking. He looked up. His eyes were calm, old, tired. Yes? We know who you are. He said nothing. He just looked at them, waiting. You are the survivor, Jisoo said. You held the Eastern Tunnel. You received the Terran Cross. Silence. Why are you here? Hana asked. Her voice was louder now, almost angry. Why are you cleaning floors? You are a hero. You should be teaching. You should be famous. Why are you hiding? Do-hyun put down his tool. He wiped his hands on his jumpsuit. He looked at them for a long moment. Because floors need cleaning, he said quietly. And because I needed somewhere quiet. Quiet? Hannah said. The whole galaxy should know your name. The whole galaxy does not need to know my name, Do-hyun said. I know my name. That is enough. He picked up his tool and went back to work. Hannah and Jisoo stood there. They did not know what to say. They did not know what to do. They had found a hero. But he did not want to be found. Word spread fast. Jisoo told one friend. That friend told another. By the next morning, every human cadet knew. By evening, everyone knew. The old janitor was a war hero. The old janitor had received the Terran Cross. The old janitor had killed 147 enemies with his bare hands. Some believed it. Some did not. The alien cadets were the most doubtful. They looked at Do-hyun when he walked past. They saw a thin old man with gray hair and tired eyes. They saw someone who moved slowly and spoke little. They could not imagine him fighting. They could not imagine him winning. It must be a mistake, the Tellurian cadet said. Look at him. He is nothing. Humans love their stories, the young Valorian agreed. They'd probably made it up to feel better about themselves. But Commander Torvax was curious. He did his own research. He found the same files Jisoo had found. He verified everything It was true. Torvax did something he had never done before. He invited a janitor to speak to his class. You will address the cadets tomorrow, he told Do-hyun. You will give a first-hand account of the siege. It will be educational. Do-hyun shook his head. I do not want to. It was not a request. Do-hyun looked at him. For a moment, something flashed in his old eyes. Something that made Torvax step back. Just a little. Then it was gone. Fine, Do-hyun said. Tomorrow. The next day, the grand hall was full. Every seat was taken. Cadets sat on the floor. They stood against the walls. Everyone wanted to see. They expected a show. They expected a hero. They expected big words and proud stories. They did not get what they expected. Do-hyun walked to the platform. He did not wear a uniform. He wore his gray jumpsuit, the same one he always wore. He did not stand strict. He did not look strong. He looked like what he was. An old man who was very tired. He stood in front of 200 cadets. He said nothing for a long moment. He just looked at them, at their young faces, at their clean uniforms, at their eyes full of curiosity and doubt. Then he spoke. You want to know about the siege, he said. His voice was quiet, not weak, just quiet. You have studied it. You have walked through the holographic recreation. You have calculated our mistakes. You think you understand. He paused. You understand nothing. The room was silent. The siege was not a lesson, Do-hyun said. It was not a strategy exercise. It was not a story. It was 2 years and 4 months of hell. He looked at the Tellurian cadet, the big one who had laughed. You said we should have found a way to escape. There was no way to escape. The enemy controlled the sky. They controlled the ground. They had 3,000 soldiers. We had 47. Where would we escape to? The Tellurian said nothing. Do-hyun looked at the Valorian. You said we should have surrendered. You are right. We should have. Do you know why we did not? Silence. Because we knew what they would do to us, Do-hyun said. We had seen what they did to prisoners. We had seen the bodies. Surrender was not mercy. Surrender was worse than death. He began to pace. Slowly. His footsteps were the only sound. You want to know what the siege was like? I will tell you. We ate recycled protein paste. It tasted like wet cardboard. We ate it for 2 years. Every day. The same taste. The same smell. After a while, you forget that food is supposed to taste good. He stopped. We drank filtered water. Do you know what we filtered it from? I will not tell you. You do not want to know. But we drank it, because the only other choice was dying of thirst. Hannah watched from her seat. Her hands were gripping her knees. Her heart was pounding. We slept in shifts, Do-hyun continued. 2 hours at a time. Sometimes 1 hour. Sometimes none. The enemy attacked at random. Day, night, it did not matter. You learned to sleep with your eyes open. You learned to wake up running. He looked at the holographic image of the outpost. It still floated above the platform. You saw the medical bay. The beds with the stains. Do you know what those stains are? Blood. Old blood. We did not have enough medicine. We did not have enough doctors. We had one woman who used to be a nurse. She did her best. But people died. People died while holding your hand. People died saying your name. His voice did not change. It stayed flat, calm. That made it worse. There was a woman named Baek Suji, Lieutenant Baek Suji. She was our morale officer. Do you know what that means? She kept us from going insane. She told jokes. She sang songs. Old songs from Earth. Songs about home and love and hope. He paused. A plasma round hit her in the throat. It did not kill her. It just took her voice. She could not speak anymore. She could not sing, but she kept humming. She hummed those songs through the hole in her throat. For 3 weeks, she hummed. Then she died. Someone in the audience made a small sound, like a sob. There was a boy named Cho Tae-woo, Private Cho. He was 17 years old. He cried every night. Every single night. He was scared. He missed his mother. He wanted to go home. But every morning, he took his position on the wall. He never ran. He never hid. He did his job. He died on day 741. He never saw his 18th birthday. Do-hyun stopped pacing. He stood very still. You want to know about the Eastern Tunnel? I will tell you. I did not hold it because I was brave. I held it because everyone else was dead. I was alone. There was no one to help me. No one to take my place. So I stayed. I killed. I survived. Not because I wanted to. Because I did not know how to die. He looked at them all. Every cadet. Every species. You study this battle. You critique our fortifications. You mock our improvised weapons. You call us primitive. You call us desperate. You call us foolish. His voice dropped lower. You are right. We were all of those things. But we were also there. We lived it. We bled for it. We died for it. And you? You sit in comfortable chairs and tell us what we should have done. The silence was absolute. That is the difference between us, Do-hyun said. You learned about the siege. I lived it. He turned and walked away from the platform. He did not look back. He did not wait for questions. He just left. No one tried to stop him. No one said a word. 1 month passed. The academy was different now. Not in big ways. In small ways. The kind of ways that mattered. Commander Tarvax changed his curriculum. The siege of Outpost 17 was no longer called primitive siege warfare. It was no longer an example of desperation tactics. It was now classified as asymmetric resistance doctrine. It was required study for all senior cadets. Not because it was funny, not because it showed how foolish humans were, because it showed what people could do when they had nothing left. The lectures were different too. Torvax did not laugh anymore. He did not say, lesser species. He spoke carefully, respectfully. He talked about courage, about sacrifice, about the human spirit. Some of the alien cadets complained. They said the academy was becoming soft. They said humans were getting special treatment, but most of them said nothing. Most of them remembered that day in the Grand Hall. Most of them remembered the old man's voice, the old man's eyes, the old man's truth. They remembered, and they kept quiet. The Tellurian cadet stopped laughing at humans. He was seen one day helping a human cadet carry equipment. When someone asked him why, he just said, "Because she asked." That was all. But it was more than he would have done before. The young Valorian stopped talking about how logical his species was. He started asking questions in class, real questions, about fear, about hope, about what makes people fight when fighting makes no sense. He did not find all the answers. But he kept asking. You and Hannah changed the most. She used to feel ashamed of humans. She used to think they were the weakest species in the galaxy. She used to look at people like Doyen and see failure. Now she saw something else. She saw strength. Not the kind of strength that comes from muscles or weapons. The kind of strength that comes from standing up when everything tells you to fall down. She stopped caring what the alien cadets thought of her. She stopped trying to prove herself. She just worked hard. She did her best. And when people made jokes about humans, she looked at them with calm eyes and said nothing. Her silence was louder than any words. Part Jizoo started a project. She found Do-Yun one evening in the maintenance room. He was sitting alone, drinking tea from a metal cup. He did not seem surprised to see her. "I want to record your story," she said. "Not for grades. Not for the academy. For history, so people will remember." Do-Hyun looked at her for a long time. "Why?" he asked. "Because it matters," she said. "Because Lieutenant Beak and Private Cho and all the others deserve to be remembered. Not as names in a file. As people. Real people." Do-Hyun was quiet. Then he nodded. "Come back tomorrow," he said. "Bring something to record with." "I will tell you everything." Jizoo came back, and the next day, and the day after that. For 3 months, she recorded his story. Every battle, every death, every moment of hope and despair. It was hard. Sometimes Do-Hyun had to stop. Sometimes he could not speak. But he kept going, because she was right. It mattered. When it was finished, she sent copies to every major library in the galaxy. She sent copies to military academies and universities and history centers. She made sure the story would never be lost again. And Do-Hyun, he still mopped the floors. He still wore his gray jumpsuit. He still spoke little. He still kept to himself. But things were different now. When he walked through the Grand Hall, the cadets noticed him. They did not look away. They did not pretend he was invisible. They saw him. They acknowledged him. Some of them nodded. Some of them smiled. Some of them said, "Good morning, sir." Sir. They called him sir. A janitor. But he was not just a janitor. He never was. One day, Hannah found him sitting on a bench outside the academy. He was looking at the stars. His face was peaceful. More peaceful than she had ever seen. She sat down next to him. They did not speak for a while. They just watched the stars together. "How do you do it?" she asked finally. "How do you live with all that? The memories, the pain. How do you wake up every day and keep going?" Do-Hyun thought about it. "Because I have to," he said. "Because Suji cannot wake up anymore. Because Taewoo cannot wake up anymore. Because 44 people gave their lives so 3 of us could live. If I give up, their sacrifice means nothing. So I wake up. I clean floors. I watch the stars. I remember them. That is how I keep going." Hannah felt tears in her eyes. "You are the bravest person I have ever met," she said. Do-Hyun shook his head. "No," he said. "I am just the one who survived. The brave ones are dead." He stood up. He picked up his mop. He walked back toward the academy. Hannah watched him go. Slow, steady, one step at a time. Behind him, through the windows of the Grand Hall, She could see the cadets. Hundreds of young officers from 100 different worlds. They were learning about war. They were learning about strategy. They were learning about the great battles that shaped civilizations. But the greatest lesson was not in the classroom. The greatest lesson was walking past them every day, carrying a mop, asking for nothing. Asking for nothing. Remembering everything. They studied war. He survived it. There was a difference, and now they understood.